friends, happy Wednesday and welcome to the Daily Creative Challenges in Adobe Illustrator. I'm your host, Julia Masalska. Welcome everybody in the chat. We have Christelle, Coley. How are you doing, Lorianne? And Miranda is here. What's up, Katiuska and Wade and Carol? Hi everyone. So welcome to challenge number 7 in Adobe Illustrator. Today is going to be all about creating a custom gradient, which is a super fun tool to play with. And we're going to show, I'm going to show you guys several ways to create gradients. So super exciting. Who of all of you is participating in the 36 days of type? Let me know in the chat. Cool, let's jump right into this, and I'm going to share my screen with you to take a look at our amazing Daily Creative Challenge page. So let me quickly make this large. So if you go onto behance.net/challenge/illustrator, you'll be able to join us for the Daily Creative Challenges right here. You can chat with the community, which is our amazing Discord channel, and here you can submit your artwork, which is super fun. All right, so today is challenge number 7, and we're going to be working on custom gradients. How exciting is that? Who of you all is using gradients already in their designs? I'm super curious to know. I use gradients so much for my social media, and if you see my feed on Instagram, you'll be able to see that. Gradients are one of my favorite things to do. So we're going to be customizing our background today using gradient mesh, and gradient mesh is just such a fun tool to play with. So if you want to click get started, you'll get access to the starter file, and you'll be able to access this file right here. This is what our starter file looks like. I already created some cool type design for you, and what we're going to be doing today is customizing the background, but feel free to also design your own design on top of here. I'll show you how I have created this design with the letter M. It's really very abstract, and today we really want to focus on the background. So feel free to use this same design and just adjust the background. But if you want to get more creative, of course, feel free to use your own letter and, you know, make it your own. Cool. We have Wade and we have Ted also joining. Friends, so, and we have also people saying that they're using the gradient mesh already. Nick is saying I use them for shading usually. That's interesting. All right, cool. So if you are joining us from YouTube, make sure to head over to be.net/live. This is where we are going to be, turn hiding off. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not hiding. Okay, now it's hiding. All right, so I don't want you all to see my whole menu during the stream. So friends, let's just jump right into this and let's do some experimenting with our background gradients. So let's take a look at the different ways to create a gradient. The first way to create a gradient is if we go here on our gradient tool, we can turn that on, and we can create ourselves a gradient inside a shape. So let's create a shape real quick. And again, I'm going into the gradient tool and I'm clicking on my shape, and automatically Illustrator is already creating me a gradient. And here I'm able to adjust colors. I'm also able to add colors in here. So if I hover over this white line, let's zoom in here a little bit. So I can then get this plus sign where I can add different colors. And now once I double click into those, I'll be able to adjust the colors, right? So you can double click into any of these points, and then between the different color points, you will find those, those sliders that will help you to transition the color from one side to the other. That will help you transfer the color more evenly, right? So now if I want to go back a little bit, just a little bit, I want to show you all a quick tip on how to create a good flowy gradient, because if we take two colors, sometimes they mix up in the middle and they create a really weird color tone. So let's take a look at how this could look like. So for example, let's say I'm creating a blue, okay, maybe like a blue and a let's say a red. So in the middle, now I'm getting purple, right? So this actually looks pretty good right now, but I can also go in and customize it. So I can add another color in the middle and make it like that perfect purple that I want it to be, right? Or let's try another color combination. So let's say I have a brown and a blue, right? So whenever I create colors like that, and let me remove this one real quick, I have this weird like gray area in between. So I can either move the cursor around and see how I can, you know, adjust this. And let's actually create maybe like, let's see, maybe like a purple and let's see, or maybe like a red. Yeah, and here we have this like area in between that's a little bit undefined and almost looks like, you know, that color is a little bit off, right? So here we can go in and create another color that's somewhere in between, and that will give us a more smooth and more colorful gradient, right? So that's one tip for you. Another tip, so once we have this shape ready, right? How do we edit this gradient actually? And what can this gradient tool do for us? So here in my properties panel, by the way, if you don't see the properties panel, go into window and hit properties so that your properties panel is activated. And by the way, feel free to shoot questions in the chat while we are talking through all of these things. I'm definitely happy to answer those here. All right, so once I'm here in my shape, I'm able to still edit the gradient. So you are not lost, right? You can edit gradient, and you can also just simply pull in a new one. And whenever you start pulling a new one, it uses the same colors, but you know, but it gives the direction that you give it while clicking and pulling the gradient into the shape. So that's one tip that you can do. Another tip is that you can move these points around, right? So you can move these points around and you can adjust your gradient and make the color heavier on one side or the other, right? So here maybe something like that makes sense because we have quite a strong transition in the middle. So maybe we want to make it a little bit more smooth and do something like this, right? So this already looks like a pretty good gradient. But my friends, the gradient tool can do way more things. So here we have a gradient that goes from one side to the other. Then what we can also do is we can create a radial gradient. A radial gradient basically is a gradient that goes in a circle, right? So here we have the center point, and here we have the outside point from our gradient, right? And here again, we have the same system. We have these sliders that we can either remove by clicking delete, or we can add a new one by clicking the little plus symbol. And again, we have the little sliders to move them around. So feel free to play around with this and just to get to know the gradient, radial gradient a little bit better. Another thing we can do is we can create a freeform gradient. And now a freeform gradient is a gradient that has multiple points, and each of these points can have a color. So here we have 4 points, one here top left, one on the top right, one on the bottom right and bottom left. Now again, if I double click into those, I'll be able to add color to them, right? So let's do that real quick so we can see an example in the colorful version. And here, instead of this black, I'm going to go for a blue, right? So here we have these 4 points, and they're all located in the corners. Now I can go in and freeform this gradient. I can go in and, you know, distribute my colors the way I want them. Now let's say I want to be red, the more dominant color. I have this little circle right here, you can see, and once I pull on that circle, the red color distributes more in the wider angle, right? So the color red starts dominating the field, right? Now I can move this color around, and I can also remove it by just pulling it out of my shape. Now I have only 3 colors right here, and I can simply add new ones by clicking the little plus sign anywhere outside the points, right? So I can add as many points as I want to, and then I can go in and adjust their color and create some really cool stuff with it. Now, we're getting to the next level of things. This is the gradient tool and all of these cool things that it can do. But another cool thing is the gradient mesh, and the gradient mesh is just mind-blowing. So let me remove this real quick, and we're going to get into a new level of gradient, my friends. Right, so I'm going to take this rectangle, or I can just simply draw myself another rectangle right here, just like so. And this rectangle can literally have any color, but it must have some color so that you can have a good idea of how the color is being distributed. All right, so I'm going to now use this rectangle, and I'm going to take the gradient mesh right here. The gradient mesh tool, the mesh tool is actually, you know, you can use it for different things. You can also use it for graphics and kind of freeform them, but you can also use it for creating a gradient and then freeform it. So what I'm gonna do now is, what I have to do is I have to create a couple points in this rectangle. Now this rectangle definitely has to be selected, otherwise I won't be really able to work with it. Okay, so I'm selecting the gradient mesh, the mesh tool, and I'm adding a couple points. I would not add too many points because then it can get really confusing, and too many points, as you can see, they're also creating connections to the other lines. So while I only created 3 points, automatically here the overlays created different new crossings, which created new color points. And for me now, what I can do is I can go into these points with the direct selection tool, and you can find that it's the white arrow under the regular selection tool. Now I'm selecting the direct selection tool, and I'm now selecting a point. And each point I can give a certain color, right? So let's say I want this point to be red. Now I have also some really cool libraries with inspirations that I can use right now. Oh, where are they? Okay, so I have an inspiration library with different color palettes in here, and I really like to do that. I really like to access colors from here. So it's super easy to work with the gradient mesh tool. Now, if we want to select multiple points, hold Shift, and still we are in the direct selection tool. So we are not in the regular selection tool, but in the direct selection tool. This is the only way we can select this, the separate points and not the whole shape, right? So this is very important. Now I can go in here, holding Shift, I can select multiple points at the same time, and I can give them a certain color, right? Now we can see this looks quite rectangular for now, but let's continue and let's fill all of these colors with all of these points with different shapes. You can also select points by just dragging a little selection box around them, right? So this is what I'm going to be doing, just like so. And you can feel free to select any color you want, any color that will work with your design. So you can also go simple and just use one, like a 2-color scheme. I'm going a little bit more complex on this one. So now I have filled all of these points with different colors. Now the magic comes into play. Right now it looks pretty boring, right? Now the magic comes into play where we can move these points around and we can create ourselves some really cool color flows in this. And it looks almost like when you're painting and you have this color palette where you're mixing the colors in. So this is exactly what it looks like. And I think this is such an amazing tool, and there's so much room to play with it, that it's just simply amazing. Now I can not only move around the points, but I can also turn the handles, and that will distribute the color differently again. So feel free to play around with that. Each point has their own handles, and we can either decrease the handle point, make the distance to the actual point wider. That means the curve of the color flow will change. So as you can see, I'm pulling on the handle and the color flow changes here. Now make sure to not place the colors too close together, because otherwise it creates overlaps like this one. Of course, this is something you can play with, but I would not recommend doing that. So now we have something really cool here. If you want to go for a colorful version, this is definitely the way to go. Now let's create a version that's a little bit less colorful and a little bit more, maybe on brand with your brand colors. So I'm going to make the whole thing, maybe let's see which color I can use. I have some really cool color palettes, so sometimes picking colors is not the easiest. So this color tone is AA8 8353. So feel free to use this one. And now I'm going to add some maybe like grayish and greenish to it. So again, I'm going into the mesh tool and I'm making a couple points, just 3 points, just like last time. And now I'm going back into the direct selection tool and selecting some of these points. So let's say I'm going to select this little corner over here, 3 points, and I'm going to make them a darker tone. And then I'm going to select these 3 points and make them a lighter tone, maybe like a white. So in this case, my white is an off-white. It's EAE 4D9, and my black is 1F1913, but you can feel free to pick any color you want. So now this looks very minimalistic. Now that we have kind of a couple colors selected here, let's add some white into this one as well. And maybe we want to add some other color into this. So maybe like a nice bright green. So that, I think that will look really cool. So let me actually go in here and remove that white. I want to change it back to that color and maybe add a little bit more green on this side as well. Yeah, just like so. And then here I'm going to add another little blob of black. All right, so we have this you know, square looking distribution now. Now we're going to go back in and adjust the points. So this is where the magic really comes in, because this actually makes it like super exciting. All right, so where the colors are going to be mixing together, just like that. I like to create like swirls basically of color where I'm moving the points around like that, and then I'm going to be turning the these elements a little bit, something like that. Feel free to experiment and, you know, just see how you want to distribute the color. Maybe you want to get a little bit of black over here, like that. Yeah, something like this. All right, so whatever color you prefer. This looks a little bit more minimalistic to me, and I don't want my design to be too colorful, so I'm going to take this one, and to select the shape again, make sure to head to the actual selection tool, to the regular selection tool, so that you can move around the shape. Now we're going to place the shape to the background, holding Command Shift and the square bracket to the left. And now let's just remove this shape here, and we have a really cool background here. Look how cool is this. I think this looks very stylized and it has already a really cool mood to it. Now we can go in and we can unlock our letters, because for you I have tried to make it a little bit easier and I have locked them. All right, let's see if there are any questions. Slow down. Okay. All right, looks like a thermal camera pic. That's an interesting observation. Okay, let's see what else. Miranda is saying this is so pretty, right? So this is the next level gradient that you can do. All right, I wish this mesh gradient was a thing when I was going to high school. Would have definitely make this as a notebook cover. Yeah, especially when you see a hard edge fade into a blur. Yeah, cool. This is fun. I'm getting lost in my colors. Yeah, same here. Awesome. So I want to show you how I have created this little this little M collection here. So I'm selecting the letter M, and I have selected this font that I've been using here as well. Let's see if it's outlined. No, it's not. So I'm going to select my text box, clicking the key I on my keyboard for the eyedropper, and I drop myself this M, and the font for this is Termina Medium, and you can find it on Adobe Fonts. So here now I'm going to outline it. Now you can see I have this font, and feel free to choose any letter you want. You can also choose a D, for example, right? So I'm going to, because wait, A, B, C, D. Yeah, so in the 36 days of type, we are going to be at letter D in a couple hours. So I would make sure to, you know, use the situation, and if you're going to participate in 36 days of type, just make it the letter that's the letter of the day. So I'm going to click Command Shift, and oh, now it's outlined. right? Now I have the vector of my D letter. Now, cool thing is, I think I wanted to share that with you all yesterday as well. So we have something that's called a repeat. It's actually a new feature, I believe. So we have a grid here that I want to select. And now I have this really cool way to kind of put these letters together. And here I can adjust the distance of them. So some of you who are working in Adobe XD sometime know about the repeat grid, and this repeat grid was recently added to Illustrator as well. So we can use this repeat grid to create ourselves a pattern. I was actually meaning to mention that yesterday, but I forgot. Anyway, it was fun anyways. And here, so these handles you can pull down, and this is going to be your endless pattern. Feel free to use this feature. Again, this handle at the top here shows the distance between the letters vertically. So what's the width distance, right? So if I pull them together, they're going closer, and horizontally closer. And here I'm going to edit them vertically closer, right? So this is a super cool tool that I definitely recommend for you to use. Now we can go in and play around with this and, make it a really cool pattern, and, just create some cool stuff with it. Later on, if you feel like, adding a single letter, you can take this grid and then go to object and expand, and then you're getting this vector object that you can then adjust. So here I can go in now and adjust any of these letters without influencing the pattern. So let me select this D here, and I can turn it around without influencing all the other Ds, right? So this is exactly kind of the way that I did it here. And here I did it with the letter M. So I have repeated the letter M, and you can see it's right here. So I've just repeated it a lot of times, and then some of them I have outlined and turned around. So it's that easy. It's that easy, my friends. And now, I can play around with this. I can even, pull this out and see how it looks in a different proportion, because gradient, can look different in a different proportion. And I absolutely love this color combination these days. It's, I don't know why, but it's such a favorite of mine right now. This funky lime green, and then combined with very elegant colors like this gold looking brown and black. So it kind of gives it such a good interesting aesthetic. All right, so I'm going to make my M's in a darker color. So let's see, I'm going to lock this, clicking Command and 2. Now I'm going to lock all of these objects as well. Holding Shift, I'm selecting all of these, right? I'm selecting all of those. And again, I'm clicking Command and 2. Now, all I can select are the M's. And I'm going to outline with Command Shift and O. And now I only have these paths. And as you can see, I was not very precise here in the vector. I'm so sorry. I was not very precise. Now I see it. But feel free to fix it. And now what I'm gonna do is I want to make the M's a different color. I want to experiment. Let's see how black looks. Black looks really cool. Maybe I can make them this lime green that I was using earlier. That could be also very interesting. Or maybe another color. Again, using these libraries here is so fun. Like, I'm doing that all the time. Maybe a blue. Just pick a color that you think will work with this. Oh, maybe a purple. I think I'm just gonna stick with black. It's such a very common designer thought. I think let's just stick with black. Doesn't matter. All right, and then what you can also do is, if you want to go to the next level, you can select the M's, go onto Window, Transparency, and then create some cool multiply, maybe, let's see, difference, some cool effect here. Difference or exclusion. Feel free to play around with this. It also depends which color you select here. So if I select a middle tone, it will look different. And then when I select Also, if you select a color, it will look different. So now I have selected an orange, and you can see that this is already doing some really cool stuff here. Yeah, this is nice. I like this. Okay, so now it's time to export, my friends, and I'm going to go to File, Export, Export As, and here I make sure to click on Use Artboards and export it as a JPEG. All right, export. Here we want to put the resolution at 150 pixels per inch and then RGB. All right, cool. Now I have exported my artwork and I can go head over to Discord. And our Discord link here is this one. So if you are new here and if you're not joined our community yet, head over to bit.ly/AI Discord. And this is where you can find our community. This is where you can post your work. And this is what it looks like. Here, I'm going into the challenge hashtag. That's very important to post it there. Head over to the little plus symbol and post your work here. Select your file. You can also just drag and drop your file into the chat. That works as well. So just pick and choose whatever you prefer better. All right, friends, let's see if we have any last second question. Just made an outline of a letter and I'm trying to create a mesh in it like we did, but that's not working. Is it supposed to? Outline of a letter, you will have to create, go onto a path, outline stroke, and then you'll be able to create a mesh inside the outline. All right, my friends. So hopefully you all are going to do a great job in the challenge. I have seen some really amazing submissions. So I'm looking forward to see your designs, and I'm looking forward to answer any questions if you have in Discord. Feel free also to follow me on Instagram and tag us with AI Daily Challenge for your challenge submissions on any social media. And I will see you tomorrow for challenge number 8. Have a great day. Bye-bye.